All right, let's dive into this Agents Companion white paper.
Mm.
It's that, follow-up to that AI agents paper that really kind of made some noise.
Yeah.
This one, though, seems like it's really geared for developers
Well,
who, like you guys out there listening, are already pretty familiar with the basics of agents and, want to really get into the weeds of actually building and deploying these things out in the real world.
yeah. Yeah.
So think of this deep dive as kind of your shortcut to understanding, some of the more advanced agent concepts
Right.
and maybe picking up a few emerging best practices along the way.
It's really refreshing to see a paper that acknowledges the reality of going beyond that like proof of concept stage.
Yeah.
It really digs into the practical stuff you got to think about when you're building agents
Mm-hmm.
that are meant to work reliably
Yeah.
in a live environment. It's not just about building a cool demo anymore.
Right. It's like going from, hey, look what my agent can do,
Yeah.
to, okay, now how do I actually make this work
Right.
at scale
Yeah.
without, needing a whole team of engineers to babysit it?
Exactly. 24/7. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, I think that's where this idea of agent ops comes in.
Okay.
The paper kind of positions it as this hybrid of DevOps and MLOps, but tailored specifically for the unique challenges that come with managing AI agents.
Yeah.
So think about things like having really robust processes for managing the tools that your agents are going to use, ways to orchestrate these like sometimes very complex workflows,
Right.
figuring out how to handle memory efficiently, and then breaking down these massive tasks into smaller, more manageable chunks.
So it's really like treating your agents as like a well-oiled machine, huh?
Yeah.
Where, each part has its role, it's
Mm.
functioning smoothly, and then there's a system in place to kind of, monitor and maintain the whole operation.
Precisely. Yeah, get everything running smoothly.
Yeah.
But then the big question becomes like, how do you actually measure success?
Right.
How do you know that your agents are actually doing a good job?
Yeah.
And the paper really emphasizes that your business KPIs, those North Star metrics, goal completion, user engagement, revenue, those should be front and center. Yeah, at the end of the day, these agents are tools, right?
Right.
And they're built to achieve specific business goals.
Absolutely.
So it makes sense that you'd want to, measure their success based on how well they're actually achieving those goals.
Exactly. And so to do that, you need to instrument your agents in a way that captures the granular metrics that are actually going to feed into those KPIs.
Okay.
So things like task success rate, how users are interacting with the agent, and even like a detailed log of the agent's actions, like breadcrumbs that you'd use in debugging.
Okay.
This level of tracking gives you insights, not just into the outcome, but also the path the agent took to get there.
Interesting. So it's not just about whether they succeeded or failed.
Right.
It's about understanding how they got to that point.
It's exactly, yeah. The journey matters too.
Now, the white paper doesn't stop there. It also highlights the importance of, actually getting feedback directly from humans.
Human feedback is gold.
Yeah, thumbs up or down systems, user surveys.
Right.
Maybe even like open-ended feedback where people can just tell you what they think.
Yeah, anything that can give you some real-world insights
Yeah.
into how the agent is actually being perceived and how it's performing in the wild.
Because sometimes I imagine the hard data might not tell the whole story.
Right, exactly.
Like what users feel about their experience with the agent, that's valuable information too.
Absolutely, it's crucial.
Now, I'm starting to see where this is going. We're gathering all this data, but I imagine that manually sifting through all of it would be an absolute nightmare, and that's where I'm guessing automated evaluation comes in.
Right. The paper makes a strong case for why this is so important.
Okay.
Automated evaluation allows you to do things like assess your agent's capabilities, analyze the trajectory that it takes to solve a problem, and judge the quality of its final response.
Okay.
And you can do all of this without having to, manually go through and test everything yourself.
Got it. So it's like automating the quality control process.
Exactly.
For your agents. Okay. But let's unpack that a bit.
Sure.
When we talk about evaluating an agent's trajectory, what exactly are we looking at?
So think of it as analyzing the path that the agent took to reach a solution. Did it pick the right tools? Was its approach efficient? Or did it waste time exploring, dead ends?
So it's not just about the destination, it's also about the journey.
Exactly.
Fascinating. And what kind of techniques are we talking about here? How do you actually measure that?
So there are a few different approaches you can take.
Okay.
There's exact match, where you compare the agent's actions to some predefined ideal sequence.
Okay.
There's in-order match, which gives you a bit more flexibility as long as the core steps are followed in the right order.
Mm.
And then you can even go with any order match if the sequence itself isn't really critical.
Got it. So different levels of strictness depending on the nature of the task.
Right.
Okay. And then when it comes to judging the quality of the final response itself,
Mm-hmm.
the paper mentions using autorators, which sounds pretty meta to me.
It is pretty meta, yeah. It's basically using one LLM
Right.
to judge the output of another LLM.
Wow.
So you set the criteria for what a good response looks like,
Mm-hmm.
and then the autorator compares the agent's output to those standards.
So it's like having an AI quality assurance team
Yeah,
working around the clock.
exactly. 24/7 quality control.
I love it. But even with all this automation, the paper still stresses that, humans are still a really important part of the evaluation process.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, autorators are great for objective assessments,
Right.
but there are some aspects of a response that are really hard to quantify.
Yeah.
Things like creativity, common sense,
Yeah.
Understanding nuance. These are things that humans are still much better at judging.
Because an autorator might say, okay, this response is technically correct.
Right.
It follows all the rules,
Mm.
but it completely misses the mark in terms of like tone or context.
Exactly.
Especially when you're dealing with, actual people.
Real-world situations.
Yeah.
It's essential to have that human touch.
So human feedback, it's like this vital check
Hmm.
to make sure that those automated evaluation methods are staying aligned with what users actually need and expect.
Exactly. You got to keep it real.
Now, let's tackle this whole multi-agent system thing.
Okay. Yeah.
This is where I think things start to get a little more interesting.
Yeah, multi-agent systems, this is where it gets really exciting.
Okay, but should I be worried?
No.
Do I need like a PhD in AI to understand this part?
Not at all. The basic idea is actually pretty simple.
Okay.
Instead of having one agent try to do everything,
Right.
you divide and conquer. You break down these complex problems into smaller, more manageable tasks.
Yeah.
And you assign specialized agents to handle each one.
Oh, okay.
So it's like assembling a team of experts, each with their own unique skill set.
So leveraging specialization, much like you would with, a real-world team.
Exactly, yeah, like a well-coordinated team.
Makes sense. So what are the benefits of this approach? Why go through all this trouble?
Well, for one, you can get significantly better accuracy.
Oh.
You can have agents, like, double-check each other's work, which reduces the risk of errors.
Mm.
Plus, it's way more efficient.
I see.
The agents can work in parallel, which speeds things up dramatically.
Oh, of course. Yeah, no more waiting around for one task to finish before you can start the next.
Right. It's like having a team that can multitask on a whole new level.
AI multitasking.
Exactly.
Taken to the extreme. I love it. Okay, so we've got accuracy and efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
Well, this parallel processing also makes the systems highly scalable. So you need more processing power. Just add more agents.
Easy peasy.
Yeah, it's very flexible.
Mm-hmm.
And you also get built-in fault tolerance.
Mm-hmm.
So if one agent goes down, the others can pick up the slack.
Oh, that's nice. You don't want the whole system to come crashing down.
Exactly. You want that resilience.
Because one agent has a little bit of a hiccup, yeah.
It's like a self-healing AI system.
That's impressive. Now, we talked a bit earlier about those issues with AI.
Yeah.
Like hallucinations and biases.
Mm.
Can these multi-agent systems help to mitigate those as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. By combining the perspectives of multiple agents.
Okay.
You essentially create this system of checks and balances.
I see.
Which reduces the likelihood that any single agent's biases or hallucinations are going to, skew the results.
It's like getting a second opinion.
Exactly. Or a third or fourth opinion.
Or a fifth, yeah.
You get the idea.
Just to be sure.
Yeah. It makes the system more reliable and trustworthy.
So multi-agent systems, they're not just about, doing things faster or more efficiently.
Right.
They're also about, making the system as a whole more robust and reliable.
Absolutely. It's about building trust.
Okay. I'm starting to see the appeal of this whole multi-agent approach.
Good.
But how are these systems actually structured?
Mm.
How do they work together?
So that's where design patterns come into play.
Okay.
Think of them as like blueprints for building and organizing your multi-agent team.
Design patterns, like a set of best practices.
Exactly. Yeah. Time-tested ways to structure these systems.
Got it. So what are some of the key patterns that we should be aware of?
So there's the sequential pattern where the agents work in a chain.
Okay.
each one completing its task and passing the output to the next one in line.
So like an assembly line, but for AI.
Exactly. Each agent has its specialized role.
All right, what else?
Then you have the hierarchical pattern, where there's a manager agent overseeing a team of worker agents. It's a top-down approach, where the manager agent delegates tasks
Right.
and coordinates the overall workflow.
Okay, makes sense. And then I'm guessing there's a collaborative pattern where things get a bit more, well, collaborative.
Yeah, you got it. In this pattern, the agents work more as equals. They share information and resources to achieve a common goal.
So like a team of scientists working on a research project.
Exactly. They're all in it together.
And I bet there's a competitive pattern too, right?
Of course, there has to be competition.
Where agents might actually compete against each other to try to find the best solution.
Exactly. Yeah, this pattern can be really effective for those optimization problems,
Yeah.
where you need to explore a wide range of potential solutions and find the one that performs the best.
So lots of different ways to structure these multi-agent systems.
Right. It really depends on the specific problem you're trying to solve.
And the desired outcome. Right.
Exactly. Different tools for different jobs.
Okay, this is all fascinating stuff, but I'm guessing that building these multi-agent systems also introduces a whole new set of challenges.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's not a walk in the park.
Like what are some of the things that trip people up?
Well, task allocation, figuring out which agent should handle which task.
Okay.
That can get pretty tricky.
Right, you don't want to give the wrong job to the wrong agent.
Exactly. You got to play to their strengths.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then coordinating the reasoning processes of multiple agents.
Right.
To make sure they're all working together effectively.
So it's not just about having a bunch of smart agents.
Right.
It's about making sure they can actually work together as a team.
Exactly. Teamwork makes the dream work.
All right, what else?
Well, managing the sheer volume of context.
Sure.
All the information that's flowing between these agents.
Yeah.
That can become overwhelming really quickly.
Oh, yeah. Information overload is a real concern.
It is, even for AI.
Even for AI. So finding that sweet spot where you have enough information to make good decisions,
Right.
but not so much that you get bogged down in the details. That's key.
Exactly. You need the right balance.
And then there's always the issue of time and cost.
Right. Of course, yeah. Multi-agent interactions.
Yeah.
They can be computationally expensive, which can impact both system performance and your cloud computing bill.
Right. The realities of working in the real world, got to keep an eye on the budget.
Always.
So it sounds like building these multi-agent systems really requires this careful balancing act between complexity and efficiency.
Absolutely. It's a delicate dance.
So how do we evaluate these systems? Is it the same as with single agents?
Well, many of the techniques we discuss, like trajectory analysis and final response evaluation,
Okay.
those can be applied to multi-agent systems as well.
So we can use those same tools, but we might need to, dig a little deeper to really understand how individual agents are performing and how well they're coordinating with each other.
Exactly. You got to look at both the individual and the team performance.
Okay, so we need to ask questions that are specific to multi-agent systems.
Right.
Like how effectively are the agents cooperating? Are they communicating clearly?
Exactly.
Are we using the right agents for the right tasks?
It's all about understanding the dynamics of the team.
Okay, so this is all starting to make sense. It's really cool to see how these concepts can be applied to build these truly intelligent and collaborative systems.
It is. It's the future of AI.
Now, let's move on to a specific type of multi-agent system
Okay.
that I think is particularly interesting, and that's agentic RAG.
Yes. Agentic RAG. This is a really cool one.
Retrieval augmented generation with agents. It sounds like a powerful combination. Is this like RAG but on steroids?
You could say that, yeah, traditional RAG is great at retrieving relevant information from a knowledge base, but it can stumble when you hit it with those more complex queries that require, reasoning or multiple steps.
It's essentially performing a sophisticated lookup,
Right.
but it's not really understanding what it's retrieving.
Exactly. It's missing the bigger picture.
So where does agentic ARG come in?
So agentic ARG addresses this by incorporating intelligent agents into the process.
Okay.
And these agents can actively refine the search queries, evaluate the retrieved information, and even adapt to new knowledge as it becomes available.
So it's like having a team of AI research assistants working behind the scenes to make sure the LLM is getting the most accurate and relevant information possible.
Exactly. It's like giving the LLM a brain boost.
I like that. And this leads to some pretty significant advantages,
Oh,
right?
yeah, big time.
Like, what are we talking about here?
Well, you get improved accuracy, for one,
Okay.
enhanced contextual understanding,
Mm-hmm.
and increased adaptability.
That's huge, and I can see this being a real game changer. For those tasks that involve sifting through, mountains of information,
Right.
like legal research or scientific discovery.
Absolutely. Anywhere you need to find the needle in the haystack.
Okay, so agentic RGA sounds amazing.
Hmm.
But before we get all excited and start building these super fancy systems,
Right.
I remember you mentioned that we need to make sure our basic search engine is up to snuff first.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's a critical first step.
So how do we do that? What are the key things to keep in mind?
So the white paper outlines several techniques.
Okay.
First, you need to make sure you're effectively parsing and chunking those source documents.
Okay, so breaking them down
Yeah,
into meaningful units that are relevant to the types of queries you're expecting.
exactly. You got to get organized.
All right, so we've got our documents nicely chunked.
Hmm.
What's next?
Metadata. Adding relevant metadata to your chunks can make a huge difference.
Okay.
Things like synonyms, keywords, authors, dates, tags, categories.
So it's all about providing as much context as possible
Exactly. The more context, the better.
to help that search engine do its job.
Right. You got to give it the clues it needs.
Okay, what else?
And speaking of context, fine-tuning your embedding model or using a search adapter
Mm-hmm.
can significantly improve retrieval quality,
Okay.
especially if you're dealing with a very specific domain.
Right, so you're tailoring it to your specific needs.
Exactly. You're making it an expert in your data.
Got it. Anything else?
So then you want to think about speed. A faster vector database
Okay.
can make a big difference in both user experience and the quality of your search results.
So speed matters, even in the AI world.
Oh, absolutely. Milliseconds count.
And then there are rankers, right?
Yes, rankers, vector searches are fast,
Mm-hmm.
but they're approximate. So you need to re-rank those results,
Okay.
using a more sophisticated system to make sure the most relevant ones bubble up to the top.
I see. So it's like a double check
Exactly. You want to be extra sure.
to make sure you're getting the best of the best.
Right, the cream of the crop.
Okay, this is a lot to take in.
It is. Search is a complex beast.
It is. But it sounds like Google Cloud has some tools
Yeah.
to help make this whole process a little bit easier.
Absolutely. They've got you covered.
Like what? What do they offer?
Well, there's Vertex AI Search,
Okay.
which is a really powerful search engine that gives you Google quality search
Right.
for your own data.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes with all these components built in.
That's like the all-in-one solution.
Exactly. The easy button for search.
Okay, and what if you want something a little more customized?
So if you prefer a more hands-on approach,
Mm-hmm.
they have the Vertex AI Search Builder APIs,
Okay.
which give you the flexibility to create your own custom search engine.
So you can really fine-tune it to your exact needs.
Exactly. You have total control.
All right, and what about if you just want something simple and straightforward?
Well, for those who want a more streamlined experience,
Mm-hmm.
there's Vertex AI RG Engine,
Well,
which can orchestrate the entire RJ pipeline for you.
so no matter your level of expertise
Right.
or how much control you want,
Mm-hmm.
Google Cloud has a solution for you.
Exactly. They've got something for everyone.
Now, let's shift gears a little bit
Okay.
and look at a real-world example of a multi-agent system in action.
Sounds good.
And that's Google's Co-Scientist.
Yes, co-scientist. This is a fascinating one.
It sounds like something straight out of a science fiction movie.
It kind of is. It's this multi-agent system designed to accelerate scientific discovery
Wow.
by using a team of specialized agents
Mm-hmm.
to generate, evaluate, and refine hypotheses.
So it's like having a team of AI-powered scientists
Yeah.
working tirelessly
Yeah.
to make new discoveries.
Exactly. It's like AI doing science.
That's incredible. So is this just a theoretical concept?
No, it's already showing some really promising results.
Really?
Yeah. In one study, co-scientists not only identified existing drugs for liver fibrosis,
Wow.
but it also proposed entirely new mechanisms
Okay.
and potential drug candidates.
So it's not just finding what's already known.
Right.
It's actually pushing the boundaries of scientific knowledge.
Exactly. It's doing cutting-edge research.
That's remarkable, and this really highlights the potential of these
Yeah.
multi-agent systems
Yeah.
to tackle those like big complex problems
Yeah.
that require, deep reasoning and collaboration.
It's about using AI to solve some of the world's toughest challenges.
It's not just about, automating simple tasks anymore.
Right.
This is like next level AI.
It's about augmenting human intelligence and pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
And another exciting area where we're seeing these multi-agent systems being applied is in automotive AI.
Yes, automotive AI, this is a hot topic.
Self-driving cars and all that.
Exactly, the future of transportation.
But how do these multi-agent systems fit into that picture?
So consider all the things a modern car needs to do.
Hmm.
Navigate, manage media, answer questions about the car itself.
Right.
Even handle general knowledge queries.
Yeah, it's a lot for one system to handle.
It's a lot, and trying to cram all that functionality into a single system,
Right.
it's just not practical.
It's like asking one person to be an expert
Right.
in everything.
Exactly. It's too much for any one system to handle well.
So what's the solution?
So what we're seeing in automotive AI
Mm-hmm.
is the emergence of specialized agents
Okay.
for each of these tasks.
So like a team of experts, but for your car.
Exactly. Each agent has its own area of expertise.
Okay, give me some examples.
So you might have a conversational navigation agent to handle directions,
Okay.
a media search agent to find music and podcasts,
Mm-hmm.
a car manual agent to answer questions about the car's features,
Right.
and a general knowledge agent to provide information about the world.
So it's like having a whole team of AI assistants in your car.
Yeah, your own personal AI pit crew.
I love it. And how do these agents actually work together?
So there are different ways to connect and coordinate them.
Okay.
You have hierarchical patterns
Mm-hmm.
where a central orchestrator agent routes queries
Right.
to the appropriate specialist.
Okay.
Then there's the diamond pattern,
Mm-hmm.
where responses are filtered through a central moderator agent
I see.
before reaching the user,
Okay.
which allows for adjustments to tone and style.
Interesting. So it's like having an editor.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
all about making sure the responses are consistent and appropriate.
Makes sense. What else?
Then you have the peer-to-peer pattern,
Okay.
where the agents can communicate directly with each other,
Right.
which creates a more decentralized and resilient system.
So if one agent goes down, the others can pick up the slack.
Exactly. It's a more robust approach.
Okay. And then there's the collaborative pattern, right?
Yes, collaborative pattern.
Where multiple agents might work together to answer a complex question.
Exactly. They team up to provide the best possible response.
So many different ways to combine these agents.
There are. It's a very flexible approach.
And all to create this truly intelligent car system.
Right. It's the future of automotive AI.
And what are the benefits of this multi-agent approach?
Well, first you have specialization,
Okay.
which leads to higher quality responses.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's efficiency and speed,
Right.
because you're matching the right resources to each task.
Makes sense.
And finally, resilience,
Mm-hmm.
so that the system can keep operating even if one agent encounters an issue.
So it's like having a backup plan built in.
Exactly. You want your car to be reliable.
Yeah, especially if it's driving itself.
Especially then.
Okay, so multi-agent systems seem like the key to building these truly intelligent and adaptable automotive AI systems.
They are. It's the way forward.
Now, let's talk about Agent Builder.
Okay, Agent Builder.
This suite of products and services from Google Cloud
Right.
that are specifically designed for agent developers.
Agent Builder is your one-stop shop for all things agent development.
This sounds like the toolkit that we need
It's packed with goodies.
to start putting all these concepts into practice.
Exactly. It's time to get your hands dirty.
So what's included? What's in this toolkit?
So first you have the Vertex AI Agent Engine,
Okay.
which simplifies the development and deployment of agents.
Yeah.
It leverages Google's engineering expertise, and it provides integrations with those popular open source agent libraries.
Okay, so you're not starting from scratch.
Exactly. You're building on a solid foundation.
All right.
It also provides a managed auto-scaling runtime
Okay.
and essential services like session management, example handling, trace logging, and evaluation tools.
So it's like a one-stop shop for building and managing your agents.
Exactly. It takes care of all the heavy lifting.
I like that. And then there's Vertex AI Evil Service, right?
Yes. Vertex AI Evil Service, that's your go-to for evaluating your agents.
Okay.
It offers all the evaluation tools we talked about and more.
Like what?
So you can evaluate LLMs, RA systems, and agents in a stable and scalable way. And it integrates seamlessly
Okay.
with Google Cloud's monitoring and experimentation offerings.
So no matter what kind of agent you're building
Right.
or how you want to evaluate it, Vertex AI provides the tools you need.
Exactly. It's a comprehensive suite.
Now, beyond those core building blocks, so last time we were talking about this idea of agents kind of evolving into something more like contractors.
Yeah, it's a really interesting concept. It really shows how fast this whole field is moving.
Right.
And as we move towards these more sophisticated AI agents,
Yeah.
The ones that are more autonomous and capable, the white paper suggests that just giving them a simple set of instructions
Right.
might not be enough anymore.
Right. It's like
Yeah.
the difference between telling someone clean the house
Yeah,
versus giving them a detailed contract
exactly.
that outlines exactly what needs to be done by when and to what standard.
Right, you need that clarity and
Mhm.
structure.
Yeah. And just like we use contracts in the real world to set expectations, manage risk, and resolve disputes,
Yeah.
you know, the paper suggests that we could apply those same principles
Mm.
to the world of AI.
It makes you wonder, what would an AI contract even look like?
Yeah, that's the big question.
How would we structure these agreements
Right.
and enforce them in a way that both humans and AI could understand?
It's a fascinating challenge.
It is, and the white paper doesn't really go into too much detail,
Right.
but it definitely gets you thinking.
It does. It opens up a whole new world of possibilities.
Imagine a future where you could actually negotiate with an AI agent to perform a complex task,
Yeah.
like outlining exactly what you need,
Right.
setting clear performance benchmarks, and even specifying penalties for failing to meet those benchmarks.
It's about holding AI accountable.
Yeah, it's like a whole new level of accountability for AI.
And as AI agents become more integrated into those critical systems and processes,
Yeah.
the ones that really matter, this kind of accountability is going to be essential.
I can see that. I mean, it's one thing to have an AI agent recommend a movie,
Right.
but it's quite another to have one controlling a self-driving car
Exactly. The stakes are much higher.
or managing a critical piece of infrastructure.
Yeah, you need to be able to trust those systems.
Absolutely. So this whole idea of agents as contractors, it's really about building trust and reliability
It is. It's about making sure that AI is working for us
into these increasingly powerful AI systems.
and that we can rely on it to do the right thing.
Exactly. Okay, let's shift gears a bit
Okay.
and talk about another concept that's highlighted in the white paper, and that's agentic RAG.
Yes, agentic RAG. We touched on it briefly before.
We did, but I want to dig a little deeper.
Sure.
Can you remind us what makes it so special?
So agentic RAG takes the concept of traditional RAG.
Which is using external knowledge to augment an LLM's abilities. And it adds intelligent agents into the mix.
Okay.
So these agents can actively refine the search queries, evaluate the retrieved information,
Okay.
and even adapt to new knowledge as it comes in.
So it's like having a team of expert researchers working alongside the LLM to make sure it has the best possible information.
Exactly. They're like the LLM's research assistants.
All right, and the white paper gives this really compelling example of how this could be used to enhance search.
Right.
Imagine you're building a system for an automotive company,
Oh.
and you want to create a really intelligent car manual, one that can answer any question a user might have
Yeah.
in a way that's easy to understand.
That's the dream, right? A car manual that actually makes sense.
Right, because those things are usually so dense and hard to navigate.
They're notoriously user-unfriendly.
But with agentic ARG, we could potentially change that.
We could make them much more intuitive.
Okay, so let's say a user asks, how do I pair my phone with the Bluetooth system?
All right, classic car manual question.
Yeah, how would a traditional RAG system handle that?
So, a traditional RAG system would probably just search for chunks of text
Okay.
that contain keywords like phone, pair, and Bluetooth.
Right, but that might not be enough.
You could get back a lot of irrelevant information, or you might miss some crucial details
Right,
that are scattered across different sections of the manual.
because keywords alone don't always capture the nuance
Exactly. You need more than just keywords.
of a query.
You need understanding.
Okay, so where does agentic RAG come in?
So, this is where our specialized agent steps in.
Okay.
Let's call it the car manual agent.
Okay, the car manual agent.
This agent can break down the user's question into smaller parts. It can recognize that pairing a phone actually involves several steps.
Right.
Like enabling Bluetooth, searching for devices,
Okay.
entering a PIN code, and so on.
So it's creating like a mental checklist
Yeah, it's breaking down the tasks
of all the things that need to happen.
into manageable chunks.
Okay.
And then, for each step, it can formulate more specific search queries.
Right. So instead of just broadly searching for Bluetooth,
Right.
it might search for how to enable Bluetooth on my car
Exactly.
or where to find the Bluetooth PIN code.
It's getting much more granular with its search.
So it's increasing the odds of finding the most relevant information.
Exactly. It's being more precise.
Okay. And then what?
So once it's retrieved the information,
Mm-hmm.
the agent can evaluate it,
Okay.
selecting the pieces that are most pertinent
Right.
to the user's question.
Mm-hmm.
And it can even synthesize information from multiple sources
Wow.
to create a comprehensive and helpful answer.
So it's like having a personal research assistant
It is. It's like having an AI expert in your pocket.
that can not only find the right information, but also explain it in a way that's easy to understand.
Exactly. It's making complex information accessible.
This is amazing, and I can see how this could be applied
Yeah.
to so many different domains.
Oh, absolutely. The possibilities are endless.
But before we go off and build all these fantastic agentic R&D systems,
Right?
I remember you saying that optimizing our basic search for RH is crucial.
Oh, it's absolutely essential.
Yeah, so even the smartest agents,
Mhm.
they're only as good as the information they have access to.
Garbage in, garbage out, as they say.
Right, so if your search engine is giving them bad data,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter how smart they are, they're going to struggle.
exactly. You're setting them up for failure.
So how do we make sure our search engine is up to the task?
So there are a few key techniques.
Okay.
First, we need to make sure that we're effectively parsing and chunking those source documents.
Okay, so breaking them down into manageable pieces.
Right, making them
Does
bite-sized.
that align with the types of queries we're expecting?
Exactly. You need to anticipate what users are going to ask.
Okay, so we've got our documents all nicely chunked.
Mm-hmm.
What's next?
Metadata, my friend. Metadata.
Okay, tell me more.
Adding relevant metadata to those chunks,
Mm-hmm.
it can make a huge difference.
Like, what kind of metadata are we talking about?
Think synonyms, keywords, authors, dates, tags, categories, anything that has context.
So it's all about giving the search engine as much information as possible
Exactly. The more it knows, the better it can perform.
to help it find the right stuff.
Right. You're giving it the clues it needs to succeed.
And you mentioned fine-tuning the embedding model.
Yes, fine-tuning or using a search adapter
Mm-hmm.
can also really improve retrieval quality.
Especially when you're dealing with a specialized domain.
Right. You're making the embedding model an expert in your data.
Okay, and what about speed?
Speed is crucial. A faster vector database
Mhm.
can make a huge difference.
Both in terms of user experience and the quality of the results.
Absolutely. Nobody wants to wait around for answers.
Right, especially in this day and age.
Exactly. We're all used to instant gratification.
And then there are rankers.
Yes, rankers, they're essential.
So vector searches are fast,
Mm-hmm.
but they're approximate.
Right. They're good, but not perfect.
So you need to re-rank those results
Yeah.
using a more sophisticated system to
Right.
make sure you're getting the best of best.
You want the cream of the crop.
Okay. And then finally, there's this thing called check grounding.
Yes, check grounding. It's like a safety net.
What does that do?
It makes sure that any claims or statements made by the AI
Mhm.
are actually supported by the information it retrieved.
So it's like a fact-checking mechanism.
Exactly. It helps to prevent hallucinations.
So optimizing search for RGA,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot more involved than I initially thought.
It is. It's a whole science in itself.
It is, but fortunately,
That's
it sounds
true.
like Google Cloud provides a range of tools
They have a whole suite of tools.
to make this process a little bit easier.
Exactly. They're trying to make it as painless as possible.
Like what? What do they offer?
So there's Vertex AI Search, which is a really powerful, comprehensive search engine.
Okay, so that's like the all-in-one solution.
Exactly. It's got everything you need.
And what if you want something more customizable?
So if you're more of a DIY type,
Mm-hmm.
they have the Vertex AI Search Builder APIs,
Okay.
which give you the flexibility to build your own custom solution.
So you can really tailor it to your specific need.
Exactly. You have complete control.
And then what about if you just want something simple and streamlined?
Well, for those who prefer a more managed approach,
Mm-hmm.
there's Vertex AI RAG engine,
Okay.
which can handle the entire RAG pipeline for you.
So no matter your level of expertise
Right.
or how much control you want,
Mm-hmm.
Google Cloud has a solution.
They've got you covered.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of technical stuff.
We have. It's been a deep dive.
But the white paper also explores some really interesting conceptual shifts.
It does. It's not just about the nuts and bolts.
Like this idea of agents evolving into something more like contractors.
Right. That's a really thought-provoking idea.
It is. It raises a lot of questions
It does. It makes you think about the future of AI.
about how we're going to interact with and manage these increasingly capable and autonomous AI agents.
It's a whole new paradigm.
And the white paper really emphasizes that this shift is driven by this need for greater accountability and transparency.
Absolutely. As AI becomes more powerful,
Right.
we need to make sure that we can trust it.
And understand how it's making decisions.
Exactly. Trust and transparency are paramount.
So as we delegate more responsibilities to AI, we need to make sure that we have those mechanisms in place
Right.
to define expectations, monitor performance, and resolve any issues that might arise.
It's about setting clear boundaries.
Yeah, and this concept of contracts seems like a really powerful framework
It is. It's a way to formalize those expectations
for achieving that
and ensure that AI is aligned with our goals.
by establishing clear agreements with our AI agents.
Right.
We can foster that trust and reliability.
And minimize the risk of things going wrong.
It's an interesting parallel to the real world,
It is. It's like we're taking those principles
where contracts are used to govern all sorts of complex relationships
and applying them to the world of AI,
and transactions.
which makes sense as AI becomes more integrated into our lives.
Now, the white paper only gives us a glimpse of this concept,
Right. It's just a taste of what's to come.
but it's a glimpse that really gets you thinking about the future.
It does. It's a glimpse
Help me
into
just
a future.
Imagine a world where you could negotiate with an AI agent to perform a complex task,
Right.
like outlining exactly what you need,
Right.
setting those clear performance benchmarks, and even specifying penalties
Yeah.
for failing to meet those benchmarks.
It's about holding AI accountable.
It's a really thought-provoking vision of how we might manage and interact with these increasingly sophisticated systems.
It is. It's a vision of a future where AI is truly a partner.
But unfortunately, we are out of time for today.
Okay.
We're going to have to pick up this conversation
Sounds good.
in part 3 of our deep dive,
Looking forward to it.
where we're going to explore some of the practical implications of this whole agents as contractors concept and delve into some of the ethical considerations that arise as we venture further into this uncharted territory.
It's going to be a fascinating discussion.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into the Agent's Companion white paper.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey, hasn't it?
It has.
Exploring this whole world of AI agents and how they're going to, like change everything.
Absolutely. And we've covered so much ground from the really technical stuff like agent tops and automated evaluation to those more mind-bending concepts like multi-agent systems and agents as contractors.
It's a lot to wrap your head around.
It is, but as we wrap up this discussion, I want to focus on this one key takeaway from the white paper, and that's the importance of trust and reliability. As we move toward a future where these AI agents are playing a much bigger role.
Yeah, trust and reliability, those are like the cornerstones of this whole thing.
They really are, especially as we start to delegate more responsibilities to AI.
Right, because if we're going to trust these agents with tasks that have real-world consequences, like driving our cars or managing our finances or even, providing medical diagnoses, we need to know that they're going to act in our best interests and make decisions that are both safe and ethical.
It's a huge responsibility.
It is. It's a huge responsibility.
And it makes you think, how do we actually build that trust? Because it's one thing to trust an AI to, recommend a movie, but it's quite another to trust it to make life or death decisions.
Exactly. The stakes are much higher now.
Yeah. And the white paper outlines several factors that contribute to trust and reliability in these AI agents.
Okay, so let's break those down.
Yeah, what are some of the things we need to be thinking about?
So, first and foremost, we need to prioritize transparency.
Okay, transparency meaning what exactly?
The more we understand how an agent works, the more likely we are to trust its decisions.
So it's like lifting the hood, so to speak, and letting users see how the sausage is made.
Right. Show them the inner workings.
And this transparency can take many forms, right?
Absolutely.
Like what? Give me some examples.
So it could involve providing clear explanations of how the agent arrived at a particular conclusion.
Okay.
Or it could involve giving users the ability to, audit the agent's actions.
Right.
and trace back its decision-making process.
So it's like creating a paper trail
Exactly, a trail of breadcrumbs.
for the AI so we can understand why it did what it did.
Right, so there's no mystery.
And this kind of transparency is especially important when things go wrong. Oh, absolutely, because even the best AI systems are going to make mistakes.
Right.
And when that happens, we need to be able to understand what happened
Yeah.
and how to prevent it from happening again.
So we can learn from those mistakes.
Exactly. It's all about continuous improvement.
Okay, so transparency is key,
It is.
but it's not enough on its own, right?
Right. We also need accountability.
Okay, accountability. So what does that mean in the context of AI?
So transparency tells us how an agent made a decision,
Right.
but accountability makes sure that someone or something is responsible
Okay.
for the consequences of that decision.
So it's about establishing clear lines of responsibility.
Exactly.
Even in a world where AI is making more and more decisions autonomously.
Right, because just because a machine made the decision
Right.
doesn't mean that no one is responsible.
And how do we actually achieve this accountability?
So there are various mechanisms we can put in place.
Oh.
It could involve creating systems for monitoring and auditing agent behavior.
Or it could involve developing legal frameworks
Okay.
that hold AI developers and operators responsible
Right.
for the actions of their agents.
So it's like there are consequences for AI agents that behave badly.
Right. Just like there are consequences for humans who break the rules.
Because actions have consequences.
They do, for both humans and AI.
Okay, so transparency and accountability, those are huge.
They are. They're essential for building trust.
What else is important?
So another key factor is robustness.
Okay, robustness meaning?
The ability of an agent to handle unexpected situations or inputs
Right.
without crashing or behaving erratically.
So it's like, can it roll with the punches?
Exactly. Can it adapt and respond appropriately to
Mhm.
unforeseen circumstances?
Because in the real world, things don't always go according to plan.
Right. That's the nature of the beast.
So we need AI agents that can handle a little bit of chaos.
A little bit of chaos. Yeah, a little bit of uncertainty.
And how do we build that robustness into these agents?
So we can test them in a wide range of scenarios,
Okay.
incorporate fail-safe mechanisms,
Right.
and design them with the ability to learn and adapt from their experiences.
So it's about making them not only smart,
Right.
but also resilient and adaptable.
Exactly. They need to be able to think on their feet.
Okay, so we've got transparency, accountability, and robustness.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
One more. Fairness.
Ah, yes. Fairness, meaning...
Making sure that our AI agents don't discriminate
Right.
against certain groups of people or perpetuate existing biases.
Yeah, because we don't want AI to make the world a less equitable place.
Exactly. We want AI to be a force for good.
So how do we ensure that these AI agents are making fair decisions?
So it starts with the data we use to train them,
Okay.
the algorithms we use to make decisions,
Mhm.
and the metrics we use to evaluate their performance.
So it's about being mindful of potential biases
Right. Being aware of those potential pitfalls
at every stage of the process.
from start to finish.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
We've gone deep.
From the very technical aspects of agent development to these much broader ethical considerations.
It's been a whirlwind tour.
It has, but I think it's important to have these conversations
Oh, absolutely. These are the conversations we need to be having.
because AI is going to have a huge impact on our world.
It already is.
And it's up to us to shape that impact.
Right. We're the ones who are building the future.
So for all of you listening out there, I encourage you to stay engaged,
Mm-hmm.
ask questions, and demand transparency and accountability from the AI systems that are shaping our world.
Because the future of AI is in our hands.
Well said. Well, I think that's about all the time we have for today. It's been a pleasure discussing all this with you.
Likewise, it's always a good time talking AI.
And to all of you listening out there, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI agents.
We hope you learned something.
And who knows, maybe you'll be the one building the next generation of intelligent agents.
The future is bright.
The future is agentic.
And it's just getting started.